If you're like me, you've probably sat and wondered this yourself. And if you're not like me, well, congratulations. You're probably normal, or maybe a different kind of crazy. But we're not here to talk about my insanity today. I don't think anyone would watch a video quite that long. We're here to talk about, are you a flesh and blood believer? Or a fab? Or are you a believer in a mythical being? Or a woo? Let's dig deeper into that and explore fab versus woo. Which are you?
First, let's talk about the fabs, or the apers, and what they believe.
This group of Bigfoot believers and researchers maintains that Bigfoots are biological creatures, physical beings that eat, sleep, live and breathe out there in that woods just like any other biological creature. Now, when they go out looking for a Bigfoot, they look for sign. They look for footprints, hair samples, tissue samples, bones, even a body. Because in their opinion, and in their theory, Bigfoot could easily be identified by science, being that it is a physical being. Now, you got to remember, other videos we've talked about, is this a relict hominid, or is this a gigantopithecus? That's possible. Or are they some other kind of a great ape that's not been identified by science as yet? That's the beliefs of the flesh and blooders, the fabs. They believe in all these things. That's why they work diligently to find a body, to find the evidence they need, to hand over to science to get this thing recognized. Now, the woos, on the other hand, not all their stuff could be tested by science, because testing something, putting it up against scientific scrutiny, is important to the scientific theory. And in order to get these things proven, it must hold up to that scrutiny. That's why we've had such a hard time getting these things proven without a body, without a proper tissue sample, or a set of bones. So, the flesh and blooders, the apers, they believe it's a great ape, maybe a relict hominid. They look for physical evidence, and in fact, their theory in itself is based on the physical evidence, because something that leaves behind physical evidence must be a physical, biological creature. That's the fab side of the story. Now, let's talk about the woo side of the story and what the researchers believe over there. All right, over on the paranormal side of this argument, you have the woos. Now, the woos believe it's a little bit harder to put your finger on exactly what a Bigfoot is. To them, these are supernatural beings. They've been known to disappear and reappear, travel through portals. They've been associated with weird orbs in the woods, even UFO sightings. Now, if you take a lot of that stuff over to the other side of the argument and what the fabs have to say, well, the ability to disappear and reappear, they say that's because they can blend in with their environment, masters of their environment, as it were, and seemingly camouflage themselves to disappear into it. The woos who tell you, no, these things can travel through a portal and maybe disappear and then reappear 10 feet away. I've never witnessed this, but I can't say it's not true, because lack of evidence doesn't mean anything, right? These guys have a little bit harder time with the scientific community because a lot of their theories can't be tested. We can't test right now with what we have as far as technology if something can travel through a portal or travel on a UFO. These things have also been known, according to the woos, to communicate with people through mental telepathy, put thoughts in their minds and let you know what they're thinking. Again, that's never happened to me, but I'm going to have an open mind on this and stay open-minded. Because without a body, without actually knowing what these things are, I have a hard time putting my finger on what exactly a Sasquatch can be. So, in a nutshell, that's the two sides of the story. You have the fabs, the flesh and bloods. Then you have the woos, and all the paranormal things that go along with that. Are they alien? According to a woo, they could be. Are they some kind of interdimensional beings that can transport? They seem to think that's possible too. Because, you know, these things can even change their appearance, according to the woos. They've been known to turn into other animals. An otter is a very common one. In fact, Native Americans used to talk about in their lore how the Sasquatches could turn into otters. So that's something you need to think about. Can these things really disappear? Or do they just seem to disappear into their environment? Are they associated with UFO sightings or strange orbs in the sky? Can they talk to us in our language, supposedly, and communicate with us in ways that are beyond our comprehension? That's what the woo seem to think. And that is the woo side of the story. Now, these two sides do have some common ground. They can both agree that Bigfoots can at least at times have a physical appearance. Of course, the flesh and blooders believe that all the time. The woos, they've seen them. They know that, yeah, they can have a physical appearance. But is that the only appearance they can take? Or are they a spiritual being also? Both of them collect evidence in a similar way. The woos have to chase after physical evidence as well as the fabs because that's the only thing they can get. But there's also the stories, the high strangeness events that are often associated with Bigfoot sightings. The woos take those a lot more seriously than the apers do. And that goes without saying. I'm not going to pick a side here. I'm going to let you decide what you believe a Sasquatch is and what it can be and what it can't be. I do have my beliefs, but again, I'm going to be open minded and I want everyone to think rationally on their own what they think these things are. Are they purely an ape or a remnant relict hominid species? Are they a Gigantopithecus? Are they some other great ape that we've yet to identify? Are they an interdimensional being? Are they an alien from another planet or galaxy? Are they a spirit that's always been here? Are they sent from a God in heaven? These are just a few of the questions that we don't necessarily have answers to. And that's why research is so important. We need to figure out exactly what these things are, get one in front of us, study it, hold it up to scientific scrutiny, and hopefully find out exactly what these things can do and what they can't do. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your support, and I hope everyone has a great day.